everybody, it's Chris with Space Engineers. There's a new update out, which I had not known. I just happened to randomly load up Space Engineers and saw that there was some new parts in this new update. Sorry, I'm paying attention to a couple different things. But this update adds the much needed conveyor system. And it also adds a couple other parts that go with it. And as you can see right on the bottom, those are the conveyor boxes, and on the top there's a new part here called the collector. And this actually just takes anything you drop into it, and it'll recover it. And then once you have a system, it'll move it. It'll allow you to dump stuff off, like maybe drop off a bunch of mining or a bunch of ore, and send it directly to the refinery, which is what I'm going to do. And I did this twice. This is the second time. The first time things didn't seem to work correctly on this ship that I made, which it was just kind of a random assembly of parts just to try it out, but it wasn't working correctly, and I decided to start over on the ground section here, and once I did, it actually worked out fine. So those are the conveyor tubes right there, and that is basically your straight run in between conveyor boxes. And what I'm doing here is actually it's coming off of that collector box area, and I just wanted to get it down to one tube, so to see if it would work, and then it just kind of makes it a little bit easier. So if you're playing in survival mode, obviously you want to use as few pieces as possible, because material can be hard to get at times, and I'm not really even sure what it costs in materials to make these. I haven't played this in survival mode yet. This is really my first look at it, and I'm just trying to get something here together just to see if it works. This is a proof of concept, and it does. So I got the collector boxes here with the conveyor boxes below. Then I got a couple tubes that come off, and then it consolidates into one line. But I'm just going to move this ship up a little bit, because I just want to make a couple additions, a couple changes, and as we'll go through that, I'll just kind of point out what I'm doing. So we have the drill here, and the drill, these locations that you see with, it's like a dark gray area in the center, that's basically the door. So that's the connection point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these conveyor boxes on top of the drill, and then I'm going to have them come out. So I think basically what the conveyor boxes are going to be, or what they've intended them to be, is basically a way to change direction with your piping, because there's no corners, there's no curves, there's no 45 or 90 degree turns with the tubes. So my best guess, and it works, so I guess it's true, is that you're able to use those conveyor boxes in order to make a turn. Now I'm trying to put a collector on there, but it's too big, and I don't understand why, because maybe it's because it's on the drill and not on the ship itself. I thought it would be smaller, so I'm gonna avoid dealing with that. But all right, so I'm gonna put my two tubes on, and I have it in mirror mode right now, so we can just do this really quickly. And then I'll put my conveyor box there, and then I will change the direction of the tubes, and then I'll draw them back. And you'll see lights on the tubes that are red. That means they're not connected to anything, so it's basically an invalid configuration. And once those turn yellow, that means they're okay. They're operating as normal. So just if you're having a problem and it's not working, just make sure you check the status on your tubes and make sure that they're in connection. And then I'll put two more conveyor boxes here, and change the angle of the tubes real quick. And all right, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put in a small container, and that'll be the storage point. And then you see the lights just turn on yellow, and we're good to go. And now I just want to make an output tube, so I'll just come out straight. I'll put another conveyor box there, and then right from the bottom I'll start putting tubes out, and just to change direction, because I want it to come out of the bottom of the ship. And now you can build this internally in the ship. I mean, this is literally just a wreck of a configuration I put together to see if this thing works. Like I said, I was having trouble with it before, but now it seems to be okay. So at the end of this tube, I'm going to put a connector, and this allows you to dump off materials. It's kind of like basically like a water fountain, I guess you'd say, or a water spigot. And then I'll go get some materials here. I'm just gonna hit the rocks and use my drill and just take some of the stone, and then I'll bring it back and I'll drop it off. Coincidentally, there's other additions to this, but this is probably one of the ones that I've been looking forward to the most, is having a real functioning conveyor system, because um, it's really nice, especially if maybe you're asteroid mining, or you're making a base in an asteroid, but it's not big enough to put anything on the inside the asteroid itself, so you maybe have to put a platform outside the asteroid with your refinery and your assembler. So you can use that collector, and you can use the tubes and the conveyors, and then you can draw, as you're mining, it'll probably collect, especially if you're in a closed area. And if you can add gravity, a gravity field would be even better, so that way everything falls into that collector, and then it automatically just sends it up to your refinery, and that make life real easy. I mean, when you're in survival mode, it's tough, because you have to keep running back and forth to get energy for your suit, and then running back and forth to put stuff in the refinery, and then pulling stuff out of the assembler. Well, I mean, that's great, but anything to make a couple less trips was needed, because it takes so long to develop resources, especially when you're working on your own. I mean, if you're working in a group and everyone's on the same page, they're not griefing or anything, then things go a little bit quicker. But when you're by yourself, it's nice to have this kind of automated system. And as you can see, I'm just dropping those stones right into that collector area. And then you don't need to be, once you turn that collector or the connector on, you don't need to be in the ship. As long as the ship's powered up, it'll still keep dropping. So I'll leave the ship. I'm just looking down now to make sure everything's working correctly. So I'll leave the ship, and then I'll run back to that large container that I have there, and you'll see stuff falling into it, and that's how you know it's working. As you can see here, the quantity is the inventory is going up on the stone, so that's great. I got that working. Real happy about that. So that's basically that's a basic setup here. There's nothing special about it. Now you can add on to this, and this is what I'm going to do next. Is I'm going to add a connection to a refinery that's kind of down where that floor is all broken up. I think I crashed something into it. And then it'll come from this container here, and it'll be piped down to the refinery. So here's I'm putting my connectors in, and I realized that I was using all conveyor boxes, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to use the tubes. So we kind of go in reverse here, and we'll come out, and then we'll put a tube, and then a box, and then some more tubes. And I have this in linear mode, so I can just build straight out. All right, and I gotta clear all that stone out of the way, so I'll just remove the floor, let it fall down, and then might as well just kind of remove all of them and fix it at the same time while I'm here. All right, so those are fixed, and just drop that one last stone, because if there's one on the deck, you won't be able to build in that square, and it can be kind of frustrating. So now you see the lights on the tubes all just went from red to yellow, so they're connected. And now I'm going to place my refinery, and I'm actually just going to turn it over, because I want to make as many turns as possible just to make sure that this is all working. So here we go, right up here. So now the door is actually on the top, and I'll just put some tubes up there, get up high enough, then put a collector box there, a conveyor box, I'm sorry, and then put some more tubes up, over, and then another box. Alright, so now if I had that sound turned up, you could actually hear the refinery turn on, and you can hear it processing. So I knew it was working, and then I'll just check it out and make sure. But I also wanted to see if I could put a assembler connected to this refinery, and unfortunately this isn't working, and I'm not really sure why. So I'll have to keep looking into that. But I tried multiple ways, and I actually even put a assembler connected to the door on the refinery, and it still wasn't working, and I'm not sure why. But that's pretty much the end of the video, and I'll just show you that it is working, and it's just imagination is your only limit here, because you can do whatever you want in this game. It's great. So if you haven't checked it out yet, give it a try, because if you like Minecraft, or if you like even science fiction, players would like this, but especially people that are creative, like to build things. Great game. The developers seem to be pretty much involved in this game, and they're putting out updates rather frequently. So the great addition, if you've been playing the game and you haven't, you stopped playing it for a little while, check it out again. It opens up a whole new world of possibility, especially for base building in like a survival mode, and it makes it a lot easier. So if we take a look, it's still not working on this. It's not transferring over to the assembler, and I'm not really sure why.